Hey folks, on this video what we're going to be talking about today is basically where genetic information is located in the cell. So we just have to kind of talk about looking at genetic information in terms of um, tracing it back. So say for example our traits in our body, hair color, skin color, um, those things are going to be controlled by genes, and they're actually going to be controlled by proteins in our body. And so the traits that show are usually will be the dominant traits. And so we receive traits from our mother and from our father. But what's going to happen is if we trace it back, we have human systems that make up our body, but lower than that, we have a series of organs that work in each one of those human systems. And if we take it back even farther, then we can actually get into this section right here, which talks about tissues. So now a series of tissues will make an organ, and then also, if we go back even farther, we can go back to a cell. So now this is a tissue cell, but inside that cell, we actually find this nucleus. And inside the nucleus, we find this stuff right here called DNA. And so you can see an image of DNA over here, and so it's going to have a sugar phosphate backbone, and we'll talk a little bit more about this after. And in the middle, it's going to have these nucleotides, and they're going to be called nitrogen bases. And there's 4 different types, which we'll talk about. But a sugar phosphate backbone, which makes the side of this twisted ladder, and then inside here, these are nitrogen bases, and they attach to the sugars. But, so this DNA is actually found in the nucleus of the cell. Okay, so now what happens is this DNA makes this long genetic code. On that DNA, we're going to have individual genes, and those genes will express certain traits. So that makes us us. Okay, so you can kind of see this DNA untwisting. And this here is all of this following this way is our genetic code. Okay, so moving on, we are going to talk about chromosomes. So chromosomes are going to essentially be a bunch of DNA, and it's going to be packed together. So basically a DNA coils up, and it's going to actually be in 3 shapes. Now on here it says it's going to be in an I or an X shape, but it also, we have that, well, they're going to be in those 2 shapes, but we're going to have I, Y, and X. But the I shape or the X shape, as shown here and here, okay, are going to represent 2 different things. So one, the X shape is actually going to be a replicating chromosome, whereas this is going to be a chromosome under normal conditions before it's replicated. So in our body, these chromosomes, if you take a look here, the female is going to have an XX arrangement, and that's going to be on the 23rd chromosomal pairing. So if you look here, what we have is human genome, and it's essentially like a karyotype. And so what we're going to have is these chromosomes, one from the male, one from the female, same size, are going to be paired up. Now you notice that there are from 1 to 22, but look at it on the 23rd chromosomal pairing. They are X and Y. These are the sex chromosomes. So their job, they're responsible for the development of testosterone or estrogen or the testes or the ovaries and the production of sperm and or eggs, okay, for the process of fertilization. Now, there are regular chromosomes, which are 1 through 22, and those are called autosomal pairs. And so they're going to pair up, and they're going to be responsible for all other actions of the growing and repairing of the body. So 22 regular pairs and 1 sex chromosomal pair in our body makes a total of 46 chromosomes, which you can see here, or two pairs of 23. So again, like I said, chromosomes, it's a bunch of DNA coils up and it forms either the I shape or an X shape, and we call that chromosomes. So we know we can find DNA in the nucleus of a cell, and then so obviously these chromosomes are also going to arrange inside the cell as well. Okay. So hopefully that is making some sense. So again, an X chromosome is a replicating chromosome and individual shape. There are going to be 23 chromosomes from the male, 23 from the female, and then when you pair them up like that human genome in the bottom, you're going to see the pairs in that individual. Okay, and remember, females are going to have an XX, whereas males are going to have an X chromosome and a Y chromosome. So a little different, and we'll show a Punnett square later that talks about how that arrangement occurs, because at the point of fertilization, sex of the zygote and eventually the offspring is determined. Okay, so next thing we need to talk about is what is a gene. And so when we talk about genes, we need to talk about what they do. And so they're just basically segments of DNA, and they're going to result in the production of proteins. So now the production of a protein is going to determine hair color, skin color, like I said, your teeth. All these proteins, approximately, I believe it's 30,000 or more proteins in our body, come from these genes. And so again, like I said, each gene is located on a chromosome, and you're actually going to notice that these chromosomes look different. So each one of these stained images is a gene, and it's going to code for a different type of protein to be produced. So we don't need to know about karyotypes, but basically karyotypes are going to just organize chromosomes in order from 1 through 23, and they're just labeled according to length, and so that we can look at the bands and the stains on them, so we can determine what activity or what proteins are produced by those genes. So anyways, that is all the information we have. So just remember, DNA is found in the nucleus of the cell. On each strand of DNA are genes. DNA packs together and forms chromosomes in the shape of an X or an I. An XX arrangement is the sex chromosome for a female. An XY arrangement is the sex chromosome for a male, its genotypic relation. Also, genes are going to carry out instructions to produce proteins that are the building blocks and repairers of our body. The nucleus is found in a cell, and in cell is going to, a series of cells is going to form tissues, and a series of tissues is going to form organs, and then organs are going to form human systems, and that's how we are made, essentially. So the next video I'm going to talk about mitosis versus meiosis, and it's going to talk about basically how we grow from the point of fertilization and how our body builds. Anyways, hopefully this was helpful.